Nearly 6 months ago, I made a grave mistake. I installed a game that would change my life forever. Black Desert. No, needless to say, there's been a roller coaster of emotions, so it's a pretty good game. Let's get into it. So first things first, needless to say, if you watched my last video, I severely underestimated this game in many ways. So coming from a background of World of Warcraft, Minecraft, RuneScape, Diablo, and games of the like, I'm pretty used to having to grind it out and games with sort of endless replayability, but Black Desert definitely takes the cake in that regard. I swear my to-do list in this game could take a lifetime, and I haven't even tried out some of the features yet. I'm telling you, this game is huge. I think I made my first video when I had about 30 hours in the game, and looking back, like 30 hours in Black Desert is literally nothing. I have about 2,000 now. Most of that is AFK time, granted, and I haven't even tried some of the features yet. Anyway, to keep things on track, I'm going to start off by talking about some of the downsides to this game I've noticed now that I'm 6 months in, and then I'll end it off on a positive note by talking about some of my favorite parts of the game and the reasons why I'm still playing it today. So first things first is the RNG and the gambling in this game is vicious and predatory to say the least. Now before I get too into this topic, I do want to preface it by saying that most of the gambling aspects can be avoided by grinding it out and simply saving up the silver and buying the items straight up. However, if you have a gambling addiction, stay far away from Black Desert Online. If you've never played the game before, it's a bit difficult to explain, but essentially in order to upgrade your gear, you have to do an enhancement, and each enhancement takes a load of materials. You need to grind for days just to save up enough to try an enhancement. But here's the kicker: even after saving up a bunch of materials, you need to build up your fail stacks, and once you build up your fail stacks, sometimes you still only have maybe a 2% chance of the gear upgrade actually going through. And if the gear upgrade fails on your accessories, the accessories will break and disappear forever. So even one that you've risked the biscuit over and over to get to, say, Tet or the 4th tier, you could blow it up getting it to Pen or the 5th tier of enhancement. Granted, it's a lot deeper than that. You can make a whole hour-long video explaining just the enhancement system and how it works. But in summary, the point is if you're a gambling addict, you could basically spend endless amounts of money constantly blowing up your gear over and over and over, and then buying the materials to have to replace or repair that gear. The second con to Black Desert that I've noticed is the lack of group content. So I'm in a guild, and I would consider it a fairly active guild. We're on Discord every day chatting. We do guild bosses usually twice a week, every Friday and Saturday. But that's about all there is to do with other people. For the most part, it's a very antisocial game compared to other MMOs, and it makes me sort of nostalgic to the old days of WoW, especially when you'd get together with everybody on raid night, and you'd have a huge group going, kicking it with the homies, progressing through the game, getting some rare loot. Yeah, Black Desert doesn't really have any of that. Yes, I am aware there is one dungeon, but let's be honest, did anyone actually have fun going through that, or were you just repeatedly smashing your head against the wall like I did? Personally, if I was on the dev team, my biggest focus, I think, would be to add group-like raids and dungeons similar to WoW. I think they've teased that idea a few times, if I'm not mistaken. I would love somebody in the comments to share any details or links to articles talking about that. But I just think that that would be something that could flip this game around completely, would be to have better group content. My third negative point, and I am not even exaggerating when I say this, is my hands hurt from the grinding. This game requires constant grinding. I mean, because there is no endgame group content, that is essentially what the endgame of Black Desert consists of, is fighting the same mobs over and over for hours, make sure you have your 20 buffs popped, and trying to get as much silver as you can. But all hope is not lost. I still play this game, and there's a lot of reasons why I do, because it is pretty good. So let's talk about some of the pros now. So primarily, the amount of content in this game is kind of mind-blowing, to the point that it makes me a bit embarrassed about some of the things I said in my last video regarding if Black Desert was worth playing or not. You see, at that time, I think I was about 30 hours into the game, and looking back, I had barely even scratched the surface. Actually, I hadn't even scratched. As much as I said the end game does consist of a lot of grinding, there are just so many cool systems in this game to learn. And as somebody that loves learning and loves, having to look up tutorials and guides, I've been having a blast. The main example I can think of is the life skilling aspect of Black Desert Online. For example, every life skill is entirely different and you really need to kind of learn how it works. For example, when I first started, I was just doing the basics, gathering some herbs, mining some ores, smelting the ores down, AFK fishing overnight sometimes, and cooking some food for my workers. And that was all fine and dandy. But then I started to explore a bit more about like the worker system and the node system, and you realize how connected everything is. And so for example, I set out to make 1 million beer for my workers. And so I was able to set up a farm in where you can grow potatoes, and then you can learn to like breed the potatoes to get better grade potatoes. So then you can use the potatoes in the beer to feed your workers. And then workers can get traces and stuff for you in the background. And then you can use those traces to make things like cooking utensils or ships and stuff like that in the game. And basically it's just this super deep, full-fledged economy in which you can pick any part of it to specialize in. Sick of grinding mobs and want to just be a farmer in the hills? You can do that. Do you love the landscape of Florin and want to just live there and be an alchemist in the small town? You can do that. Want to join the BDO Navy Guild, buy a ship and set to the seas? You can do that. There's horse races, fishing events, PvP, grinding, questing, life skilling, building your worker empire, playing the silly Amity game to try to get knowledge. There's just like an endless list of things to learn and do in Black Desert. So my next pro to this game is involving the dev team and the updates and the pay structure surrounding this game. So one at a time here, the game has constant updates, and personally, I think the updates have been amazing. It seems like every 2 weeks they do some kind of major overhaul that drastically improves quality of life. Some of the players that have been around for a long time tend to complain about some of these updates, but as a new player, I personally love them. The life skill merge, how the new seasons work, I think it's all been amazing personally. So on that same note, the devs seem to be quite responsive in terms of community requests and what the community's talking about. As somebody that comes from a background of Blizzard, I'm definitely used to like money-hungry expansion packs coming out all the time. I paid $1.30 for Black Desert on Steam when it was on sale. I have 2,000 hours on it and I've never paid another $1. I think that is the best value entertainment I have ever spent in my life, and I couldn't be more happy. The last point I'm going to end on here is the community of this game. So yes, like any game, the group chats and the party chats in this game can be a bit of a headache, but overall I found the community to be very helpful and welcoming, especially to newer players. Whenever anyone has a question about the game, they seem to get a ton of answers really quick. There's a flourishing community of creators that are really passionate about seeing this game continue to grow. So really quick summary. After 6 months and almost 2,000 hours, I still feel like there's a lot to learn in this game, and I am really impressed by how big it is and the devs' ability to keep constant updates coming to the game. Is BDO worth it? Yes. Should you spend all your money gambling in it? No. That's bad. Anyway, these are just my 2 cents. I'm just having fun trying to game and share my thoughts. Please subscribe and like the video. I'll make more like this. Peace.